Hey guys, today's video was inspired by all the folks here on Cape Cod that were in lockdown due to COVID. We started seeing a trend in people talking about projects they were doing, so we started a Facebook page, Cape Cod Stay-at-Home Improvements. And that's been fantastic. It's been fun to watch all the people fixing up their homes and sharing tips and ideas. So with my background in construction, I thought I'd have some fun and give you some simple tips over the coming weeks for how to overcome problems we see every day. And one of the problems we see is, holes in drywall. And people think it's a big deal, or you got to cut it back to the studs, or you got to hire a professional, which is not the case. And that's what we're going to show you how to do today. Simple, quick fix to take care of a hole in drywall so you can't even see it. So for this project, it's a very simple set of tools that you need and supplies. The first thing you need is a piece of drywall. Doesn't have to be very big. If you got a scrap piece around, that's fantastic. Nice keyhole saw. A level. You generally need a tape measure too, but my level has measurements on it, so we're going to go with that. A razor knife for cutting the drywall. Pencil. A square. You need a 6-inch putty knife for spreading the drywall compound. Some sandpaper finishing up afterwards, and of course some drywall compound. Very simple, straightforward. Most of you will have this. If not, it wouldn't cost you much to get it. We've all seen it. Someone throws a door open and bangs a hole in the wall with your doorknob, or they throw something into the wall and they make a hole in your drywall.
You call that a hole?
What the hell? Seriously? Alright, so after you're done yelling at your child for blowing a hole in your drywall, what you're going to want to do is get yourself a level line. And you want to make the hole bigger than this, because sometimes the drywall in the back has blown out a little in a little larger area. So I'm going to just say, what the heck, I'm going to go over here, and then we'll go over on to, let's see, 3. We're going to go about 4 inches wide, and then we'll get a nice level line in there. I'm going to flip that over because I can't see the level. And what we're going to do now is square that off. Bear with me, guys. I don't do this for a living anymore, so, and we're going to make this. So once you got your spot all laid out, you're going to take your keyhole saw, and through the hole that your little rascal punched the hole in, and we want to just square that up. There we go. So now we have a 4-inch by 4-inch hole. So now that we have a square hole, what we're going to do is we're going to take a piece of drywall and actually cut it 2 inches on each side. So we've got a 4 by 4 hole. It's going to be 8 by 8 is what we need to cut a piece of drywall at. So now that we have an 8 by 8 piece, so we know it's going to go 2 inches extra all the way around that, you're going to flip this over and get yourself marks. So we want to go 2 inches in from each side. And then we'll just connect those lines. Oops. There you go. So you end up with something like this. There you go. So now what we want to do is very gently snap it like that. Makes it easier if you break these ones too. So you're just peeling off little sections at a time. Very gently peel the back of the drywall away from the paper on the front. That one, a bit more. And lastly, this piece here. So again, what you're left with is a piece that should fit in that hole with extra paper. So there's no need for mesh tape or any of that. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to dry fit this to make sure it fits properly. And it does. So now we're going to take it out and put some joint compound around here. That's what we call buttering the joint. So we're going to do that. What we're going to do is we're going to put a little bit of joint compound all the way around the edge. And what that will do is when you place the patch into the hole, it's really going to help it to bond up tight once it seals. Once we get that around the edges, we're going to then put that all in there. And then we're going to take a little bit around the outside, kind of with a round sweep to it. Just make sure it goes out beyond the 2-inch point. You definitely don't want it too thick, but don't try to make it too thin either. It's kind of a fine line there. So we got a little bit right there, all the way around. And now what we're going to do is take our piece. If you notice the arms look different, I brought in my stunt double to do the drywall. So this fit just so. Okay, so now we just kind of tap this gently into place. You don't want to push it in too far. You want it flush with the outside of the drywall. I'm going to call my stunt double back in. And make sure we got plenty of drywall compound all the way around so we get a good adhesion. The reason this is green is this is moisture resistant drywall. You don't necessarily need that. That's just what we happen to have handy. So you get it nice and clean. Give it a little bit, just like you would if you had tape. A little bit more mud around. Make a nice even coat. Don't overwork it. Don't overthink it. Just, you know, at this point, a little thinner is better than thicker because it'll just mean a lot less sanding. Yeah, what you want to do is go out a little wider than the paper and then the hole itself, obviously, because that will help you to feather it in such a way that you won't see any kind of a bump or a mound in your drywall. So what we'll do is get this all wrapped up, and then we are going to let that dry. Give it a quick sand and maybe a second coat. So we're going to leave that alone for several hours. You'll be able to tell it'll be white and powdery looking when it's dry. We'll let it dry. We'll come back, hit it with a little bit of light sanding, and then if it needs a second coat, we'll do that, and then we'll be ready for paint. That's simple. All right, so now that we have that in place, what we're going to do is lightly sand any of the ridges out of the drywall compound. You don't have to do too much. Just take it down so it feels pretty good. Don't sand too deep because you start to fray the paper and that becomes a problem later on. So we're just going to take it down a bit. And then we're gonna just apply another layer of joint compound, just like the first time. Kind of you can see it's not going as smoothly as it did with my stunt double, but that's okay. I'll get us through it. Let's just get a good coat on there. Whoops. Remember what I said about not overworking it? I'm overworking it. That should be it. So we're going to let that dry a little bit, and we'll see you in just a few. Okay, apparently we lost audio, so the rest of this is going to look like an old Godzilla movie. What we're going to do is take a fine sanding block. It's really fine grit so it doesn't show any marks and sand marks, and just hit the edges and any ridges you might have. Just sand it down nice and smooth. Use the circular motion so you don't see any sandpaper marks. Give it a good wipe down, check it out. Sand it up nice, and now we'll be ready for a quick cleanup and paint. Now we're going to give it a quick coat of paint. Just took a small roller with matching paint and just real light nap, so it's not too fuzzy. It'll match up perfectly, and then you're done. Perfect wall. There you have it. It's as good as new with the California patch. If you learned a little something today and you found this interesting, go on over to our Facebook group, Cape Cod Stay-at-Home Improvements, and share any projects you might have and share with each other, and you learn from people, you pick up tips. It's a fantastic group. So again, it's Cape Cod Stay-at-Home Improvements, and we'll see you soon.